Welcome back. Today I want to talk about self-compassion. We've all heard compassion, we've all heard self-compassion, we've heard this term, we've heard this practice, we've heard about it. And it's a valuable exercise to really define what it is and where it can really support us in our lives. And this is a message for anybody who's called to stop and listen to this video. So just know that. And I'm also really speaking to women because I am a woman, and where I add texture and color is always going to, or often going to be from that lens. That might shift someday, but right now that's what I'm focused on. And women in particular, especially high achieving women, older millennial generation and Gen X generation, and likely even beyond older and boomer, etc., don't really have a practice of letting themselves off the hook, don't necessarily know how to give themselves the benefit of the doubt. And we have been living in a world that has really taught us more how to relate with being human as an intellectual practice versus an embodiment practice versus having other ways of metabolizing who we are and how we experience our lives and ourself. I have note. I was inspired to create this video around this topic because it's something that we can never become more learned in, as far as I'm concerned, in all the observation and studying that I've done of the human experience over the last almost 30 years. And I'm reminded of it as I lead 12 women through this journey that I'm on with them, titled The Real Wealth Immersion. Let's first start by defining what compassion is, because I don't think that we all understand that or think about it. So I like to go to the etymology of words, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on this, but I'm going to share this with you because I think it can add texture and give insight in a way that can be meaningful. At least it was for me, so I want to share that with you. Calm, C-O-M, that means with. And then pati, which is the root word of passion, is to suffer. So compassion is to suffer with. Self-compassion is to be with yourself in that state. But I also like to add to just be with, in a place of caring, in a place of presence, in a place that supports not being alone with. So with self-compassion, it's about bringing that presence of caring, of witnessing, to be with, to support with yourself in your experience. So when you think about self-compassion, the opportunity is, can I be with myself? Can I witness myself? And this is especially useful and powerful when we are struggling, when we are in a lot of judgment, when we are in a lot of pain, when we are in our heads often about how we're thinking and the thoughts that we are recycling. There's so many things that we can do to support that. And right now in this video, I want to talk about self-compassion because it is a gateway to shifting how you are experiencing yourself at any given moment. It is a gateway for healing. And then through that, it's a way of releasing and becoming more free. So I want to talk for a moment about polarity. We are taught good, bad, right, wrong. This is how the ego likes to understand and metabolize the world, their life, the experience of what's happening all the time. We want the mind wants to put things in boxes. We want to understand so that we can move through and beyond. But that is a dimension of ourselves. If you have been listening to any of my videos, and I hope that you'll stick around, I implore you, I invite you to, instead of thinking of yourself as a human with a soul, consider that you are actually a soul having, using, and learning from your human experience. So when you open yourself up to that orientation, then you are also saying yes and opening up that you are more dimensions than you actually maybe know, understand, and potentially viscerally experience in your current life. When you come from that place, not everything is understood. Not everything can be rationalized and explained. And not everything needs to be. Because when you recognize that you're a soul having a human experience, it can take some of the pressure off. So keeping in mind that part of why we need and why self-compassion and compassion is useful is because we have this polarity mind that wants to put things in these boxes of good, bad, right, wrong. But what comes with that is a burden of then holding it in that place, of maintaining it in that place, which is an internal split versus just observing it as like data, like being a social scientist of your life. So keeping in mind that part of why we need compassion and why it can be very useful in our human experience is because of this tendency to be a polarity thinking in our brain and our mind and how we view ourselves in the world. The next piece I wanted to share about is this opportunity to recognize that as a soul having a human experience, you are going to have all kinds of experiences. You're going to have ups, downs, sideways. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have joy. You're going to have a lot of things. But because of that polarity thinking and the way that we've been evolving as a human race, we do have a deference to negativity. There's a lot of scientific research about that. I would add that that is how we've been metabolizing the human experience, and that's why that's the case. I would also offer that when you see those videos that are like really beautiful and loving and have all this wonderful stuff, why they have millions of views is because we also do want to receive that love. We are drawn to experiencing that because that is reflecting that part to us. But the polarity mind is then what wants to compartmentalize. And the opportunity is to recognize that as having a human experience, you're going to have all kinds of experiences. So what if you were to just allow yourself to have it? And this is what's called the dignity of your process. Because we are not comfortable being in the things that don't feel good, because we've bought into this idea that that should not be the case, which is where all the suffering begins, thinking it shouldn't be the way that it is, then we miss this step. We miss recognizing that this step is available, and that is to just allow yourself to move through it, to know that it's not forever, to know that it does shift, and to know that every single thing that you're going through is actually preparing you for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it's supporting your own growth. It's supporting the fulfillment of why you came here. So allowing yourself the dignity of your process, allowing yourself to feel the feelings, allowing yourself to move through it without drawing conclusions about, is it okay? Is it not okay? Is it bad? Is it right? Should it be this way? Should I not be doing this? Should I be doing it a different way? I shouldn't feel this way. All of that is the mind trying to control what's happening. And if you just let that idea go, consider that you don't actually need to do that. You can interrupt that tendency and you can rewire that neural pathway. That we do know, that right up here in your prefrontal cortex, it's always ready and willing to shift and change and to create new neural pathways. So that's what happens when we start to interrupt old patterns. It takes a minute, but it's possible. This next piece is related to what I was just sharing, and that is this wrong making. What's embedded in the polarity thinking is wrong making, is needing to make something, someone wrong. And I offer for your consideration that you can move through something, you can see something, you can experience something, you can grow from something without getting stuck in the wrong making. When we go into the wrong making, then that is where suffering really just gets stagnant. You can decide that you maybe don't want to repeat something. You can decide that you may not want to be around certain people or situations. You can have that discernment. But when we get stuck in the wrong making, which is embedded in that is judgment, then it's like that saying, holding a hot coal, thinking that you're burning somebody else or that you're not burning yourself. But when you're sitting in that decision that you've made about something, you're just holding a judgment. And that has weight in your energy field. That has weight on your person, on your consciousness. So I encourage you to consider that you do not have to stay in the wrong making, and you can neutralize the wrong making and still have clarity about what you might want to do differently in the future. And I just feel implored to say this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Let me say that again. I wanted to get closer so that you can hear me when I say, There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong with you. And there's nothing to be gained in making yourself wrong, in making any part of who you are, how you be, what you feel, what you did. There's nothing gained in wrong making. You can evaluate with compassion. You can neutrally observe. You can, like I said before, use discernment. You can make new choices. You can decide to take a different path. You can decide to learn something. You can decide to get support. All of those things can support you in making a different path for yourself. I'm not saying stay stuck, stay in something, and that's what happens when you let go of the wrong making. No. All of that. And as a matter of fact, not much happens under duress. So when we are stuck in that place of wrong making, we are literally holding ourselves hostage to an energy field that is not promoting wellness, growth, healing, something new and different. There is nothing wrong with you. Okay, I think I made that clear. Oh, I hope that was heard. I realized I had the mic down really low. Shoot. I'm going to record that again just in case. If I wasn't clear, I want to say it one more time. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong with you. And I encourage you to not get stuck in making yourself or any part of you wrong. You're a soul having a human experience, and that is meant to stumble and make mistakes and learn from things and put your foot in your mouth and do stuff out of pain that you wish you hadn't done. But that's how you learn. That's how you learn. And you can learn and grow without making yourself wrong. Going back to the purpose of this video being around self-compassion, why this is also present is that as you move through your life and you draw conclusions about yourself and about your life, the mind, and this is happening from very, very young, we are making decisions about what everything means. From the time you are a toddler, all of it, we are constantly making meaning out of things. I want to encourage you to be mindful that you caution how many conclusions you draw in any given situation, that any conclusions that you draw, you're doing it mindfully and consciously, because we are drawing a lot of conclusions unconsciously, and there's nothing actually useful about an unconscious conclusion. So if you're going to draw a conclusion about something, do it with a level of consciousness, a level of presence to your experience and whatever that is about. But I caution you from drawing conclusions about yourself, about your life experience. Let everything be insight and information and data that you look at and you learn from, and have it support you in making the same choices or different choices, or however you want to move with whatever's going on. But drawing conclusions, especially if they're making you wrong, nothing good happens there. So one of the most powerful things that we do not learn about that can support you on your journey is self-forgiveness. When you think about your life and you reflect, and let's just say you have a certain challenge. I think a lot of us have themes in our life. How you might think about that challenge is often what is determining whether you're learning from it, whether you're moving through it and transcending it, or you're stuck in it and you're repeating it. Because that's kind of what happens. We will repeat things over and over until we get the learning. So I'm offering that often what's happening, and I've been talking about this now, is the judgment, is the wrong making, are the conclusions. And something that's really, really powerful to support you in shifting that is self-forgiveness. A powerful way to practice self-forgiveness, it's about forgiving the judgment, forgiving the judgment of whatever it is. And it goes something like this. I forgive myself for judging myself as. I forgive myself for judging XYZ I forgive myself for judging that the way I've done my life is wrong. I forgive myself for judging myself as thoughtless. I forgive myself for judging myself as not worthy of love. I forgive myself for judging myself as stupid. Whatever it is, first of all, what happens when you practice that is that you actually often bring to the surface the judgment that you're unconsciously holding over yourself because you haven't actually ever really articulated it in a way that you could actually hear it. So that's really powerful. But you are forgiving the judgment. You're forgiving the judgment because you're forgiving the energetic frequency that is living in your own embodiment. Even if you've done something really egregious that you do not want to have happen in your life again, you can make that decision, that discernment, and you can also forgive the judgment. Because everything you're doing is part of your human experience and doing the best that you can given the circumstances, which includes your consciousness, your awareness, your insight, your emotional makeup and inner support system. So self-forgiveness can be really, really powerful, especially as it relates to how you are thinking about yourself in your life as a soul having a human experience. So as I wrap this up, I want to highlight something really powerful. And again, this is a choice to recognize that instead of seeing yourself as a human with a soul, that you are actually a soul having a human experience. And that means that, and I mentioned this a bit ago, but if you were to just pay attention with compassion, neutrally observe yourself over time, you will see patterns. You will see themes. You will see repeat challenges, often where you're probably beating yourself up, which is why this is an extension, a natural extension of what I'm talking about, the wrong making and the polarity thinking and all that. The opportunity is to see the pattern, see the repeat things that have happened that you are the common denominator of. And there is healing there. There is healing available there. And there is intelligence in that. Your repeat challenges are part of why you're here. They're part of what you're here to learn. They're often part of what you're here to share and teach and help others with. There is gold in your patterns. So I encourage you to, instead of making yourself wrong or staying stuck in that vibration, which is a lot of what we learn here on this physical plane, to start to invert your view and consider first seeing the patterns and what's available there so that you can then draw some healthy, conscious conclusions. And then, what is the gold? What's here for me? What is this thing? What would be the reason why I would be circling this pattern? What is it attempting to teach me? What have I learned from this? Where have I grown from this? There's so much there. There's so much gold there. Everything in your life, everything that led you to this point right now, has all been on track. It's all preparation. It's all leading you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. This is not Pollyanna. This is truth with a capital T. You just have to decide if you want to live in that or if you want to be in a different mindset, the mindset that wants to stay stuck in the polarity thinking, the mindset that wants to be in the wrong making. That's the ego. It has a purpose, but it should not be the ruler. Your heart, your soul is the ruler, and your mind is in service to that. But until you know that you have that choice to lead in that way, you could stay in that place of thinking that the way that it is the wrong making, is what the ego will always attempt to do. Okay, I won't get on my sermon. So my question for you is, what big judgment, what big or major judgment are you holding over yourself? What big judgment or what conclusion have you made about yourself? What is that? And if you were to be with that in some of the ways that I shared with you in this video, how might you open that up? How might that help get you more free? What is there for you to notice? Because if you're watching this video, I guarantee you, you have at least one, if not several, because that's part of the human experience, judgments, conclusions that you have made about yourself. And if you were to be with that in a different way, if you were to inquire, if you were to get curious, if you were to let that be a way in to observe yourself, what is there for you? What is there for you to bring compassion with? What is there for you to forgive? What is there for you to potentially see differently? And here's what's really powerful about this. This is often the conclusions and judgments that we're holding over ourselves are often based in a lot of experience, a lot of data. So I'm not trying to say that that didn't happen. That was your experience. That was real. And we're here now. And there's often healing that is available there. Healing the teenager that had that situation, healing the 20-something that was in that situation, healing the 30 and 40-something that created that situation or was a part of that situation. All of those situations all were part of helping you learn. It was part of what your soul's curriculum is. It's not a wrong-making thing. It's not like you did it wrong and you should have done it this way, although that's what this world will have us believe. It's that that was your path. So behind that, through that, is your greater level of service. And I'm not saying just brush past the learning, but I am saying be with that pain, synthesize it, alchemize it, and let it help you while you're healing it with the compassion and the forgiveness and the expression. It often just needs a voice. What can you shift? What can you transcend? What can you rewrite? And what can you be informed about why you are here? Because those themes that you're noting, they're intelligence. They're divine intelligence about why you are here, what you're here to do, who you're here to serve and support through yourself, starting with yourself. Okay. My name is Jennifer Herrera. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate you so much.